Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We were gone for a little bit, gone for a week or so. So I've got some breaking news exclusive to our listeners because I haven't broken this anywhere, Mike. First off, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, and I'm very, very happy to see you.
Yeah.
I've missed you, you
right.
big lug.
Thanks.
But before we go anywhere, what's with the hat?
Okay, so you know
I know you're dyslexic, but I didn't realize you took it to this account that you have backwards hats.
Right, my affinity for Vandals football, right? So the Corner Club is a bar in Moscow, Idaho. If you ever go to Moscow, Idaho, got to go into the club, get yourself a pounder, get yourself a tub. And this is where we used to go in the off seasons when I was a football player at the University of Idaho. We would go and we would have shuffleboard tournaments with the coaches and the players and the town drunk Francis, who was awesome. He was always on the corner there. So anyhow, this is an ode to the club, and obviously. When you spend enough time at the club, that's kind of how you're seeing when you stumble out of there. So,
I gotcha.
Yeah, so anyhow,
I like it.
Shout out to my guys at the Corner Club. Appreciate you guys for sending me the hat. University of Idaho, go Vandals.
And by the way, it's Moscow, not Moscow.
Yeah, Moscow.
Don't say Moscow.
No, we're not in Russia. It's Moscow.
Comrade.
And you know what they say? Chew tobacco and spit. You ain't a Vandal, you ain't shit. So there you have it right there.
All right, so the breaking news.
The
How you
breaking
doing?
news, I was gone for a while, so I fell back into AFib a couple of months ago and was having some heart issues. Obviously, when you have AFib, your heart doesn't beat in rhythm. And so it gets to the point, you mentioned it on a radio show, I walk up a flight of stairs and I'm huffing and puffing. And so, your resting heart rate, mine is in the 90s. Sometimes it'll be up in the hundreds. And anyhow, long story short, I came in a couple of weeks ago. We had our dark week. I did a bunch of appointments. The doctor said, confirmed, because I'd already told him I'm in AFib. I'm pretty sure I'm in AFib. So the doctor confirmed that I was in AFib. And so I did some more tests, and they said, hey, let's just go have another, heart surgery. So again, they went through my groin, went up into my heart, and blasted my heart full of microwaves or some crap. And I'm back into a natural rhythm. Feeling good. Didn't have pain this time. The first time I did it, I thought I was going to die.
Well, what'd they do?
Well, the first time I did it, when they went
Listen
in,
to this.
When they went in, I had on my pericardium, which is the sac that encases your heart, was a bunch of fluid. So they had to drain that. Well, when they drained that, they accidentally cut my heart, punctured my heart or sliced it or whatever.
Oh.
Nicked it. They said nicked it.
Yeah, right.
So then
Nicked your heart.
Yeah, nicked it. So then my whole chest cavity filled up with blood.
Oh.
They had to stick a hole in my stomach and aspirate my chest. And anyhow, long story short, I came out of the hospital 20 pounds heavier than when I went into it. And I was in so much pain for 4 days. I literally thought I was going to die. Yeah. So scheduling this surgery and going in, I'm laying on the operating table going, Lord, please. I don't want to go through that again. But I literally had no pain.
Yeah.
So
they got it right this time.
Yeah, I got it right. It was.
Were you knocked out for this one? You're knocked out, right?
Oh, yeah, you're knocked out.
So you understand that the last time you had this done, you were knocked out. You didn't hear it, but that was probably a moment where a doctor went, oops.
Yeah. It's one of these.
You don't want your doctor to go, oops, but my guess is he went, oops.
Right. You know how the doctors always come out and say it was a successful surgery? Yeah. He's like, I screwed that one up. But no, same doctor. He's a great surgeon. He's a great guy. And that's why I came back this time. So anyhow, long story short, right now, everything seems to be hunky-dory. So
awesome.
Keep me in your prayers. I appreciate you guys all there. And like I said, I haven't told anybody anything. You knew. There's only a handful of people in the world that knew that I had to go back in there and get that done. But feel great.
Well, that's awesome. And it's great to see you. We got a lot of things to talk about. At the risk of elevating your heart rate, we got to start by talking about one of your favorite subjects, Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Russ. Hey, you know what?
Go Big Blue. Go Big Blue.
You people in Pittsburgh owe me an apology, right? He had one good game or two good games, and you all came at me. All the radio stations in Pittsburgh, you guys know exactly who you are. Had me on, wanted me to eat crow, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You got you understand what it is. Hollow statistics. That's all it is. And they gave him a $10 million deal with a chance to earn $21 million. It tells me one thing about the New York Giants. One, they've got Dumb and Dumber playing quarterback, and no offense to, well, I just offended them, but they got Russell Wilson, they got Jameis Winston. Jameis has never seen a team meeting that he didn't want to throw it right into, so the interception king, and, Squints, who got his eyes fixed and now is going to be great. I don't buy that. And then you got Russell Wilson, who, doesn't operate in the middle of the football field and compiles empty statistics. And I think they lost in Pittsburgh the last 4 or 5 games, whatever it was. Bottom line is this is a move that tells me the New York Giants are going to draft a quarterback at number 3 unless they move up. So, if they move up, they're still drafting a quarterback. So it's either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at number 3. That's what it tells me. So because you cannot go into a season, even on a 1-year deal, I think Jameis signed a 2-year deal, you can't go into a season thinking that either of these guys can lift you out of the cellar of the NFC East. These guys are not good enough to do that. So all these guys are now is a holding place. The proverbial, what do you call it, Mike? You call it the bridge quarterback to a rookie, because that's what you've got in New York.
Well, can I give you another option?
Sure.
Is this maybe an acknowledgement by the Giants that in a very, very slim quarterback class, really it's only 2 guys, it's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders in the first round, that this is acknowledgement that we may not be able to get one of these 2, that Cam Ward may, let's say, go to Tennessee at 1 and Shedeur Sanders goes to Cleveland at number 2, and
right.
this is our insurance that we're not able to get one of these top 2 quarterbacks. It's not ideal, but at least it gives us some insurance to go out and play this season and at least maybe have a chance to compete and then take another crack at it next year.
Well, I would think that if you do that, right, if you don't get either of those guys, then you trade back and you see if you can get Jackson Dart or whatever, and you accumulate some more picks. You can't honestly tell me. You can't. Like, unless you're the Giants and you're, selling yourself lies again like you did about Daniel Jones. Listen, I asked people in that, I'm not going to point the people I asked, but I asked people in that organization before they signed Daniel Jones to a $160 million deal, does he pass the confetti test? And they looked at me and were like, what do you mean? I go, can you see him hoisting the Lombardi over his head right here and confetti raining down on him that's blue and red and winning a championship? And it was dead silence. The answer is no. Like, you can't see him. Why'd you pay him that much money if you can't see him leading you to a world championship? Can you honestly tell me you could sit there? Because the New York Giants, I know they have fallen, but the New York Giants, over the course of my career and over the course of many generations, that's a championship organization that wants to or has aspirations to or goals to win a championship, to win a Super Bowl. You can't honestly, you can be the most ardent Rusty fan in the world. You cannot sit there and tell me you think that Russ Wilson has the ability to lead your team to a championship. Because if you tell me that, 1, you have no idea what you're looking at, and 2, you're a pathetic liar. There's no way that anybody can think that Russell is going to hoist a team on his shoulders and carry them to a championship. Zero chance. Or Jameis Winston for that instance. So the bottom line is you have to be drafting a quarterback. Now, remember, this is the same organization that said, no, we don't want to spend money on Saquon. He's not the answer. Daniel Jones is the answer. And then however many weeks later, 8 weeks later, bench him and say, yeah, we're not, and then cut him. So this organization right now is so far from what I remember them to be. I mean, they are competing with the Jets when it comes to dysfunction, and that's a vitriolic statement right there.
Well, I guess our message to Giant fans, having lived through the Russell Wilson experience, is you're talking about a guy who's now on his 4th team in 5 years. Sean Payton, well, first of all, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, and Mike Tomlin all decided no thanks when it came to Russell Wilson. You're talking about 3 coaches who are all potential Hall of Fame coaches who all said, and who know better than anybody, the importance of a quarterback in this league. All 3 saying, thanks but no thanks.
Yeah.
That's the guy you're getting, Giant fans.
All of them, by the way, watched him compile empty stats. Every one of them. And said, thank you, but no thank you. I'd rather play without a quarterback than deal with his shit. I mean, that's
right.
what they said, right?
Yes.
Essentially,
yeah.
I'm paraphrasing.
I'm taking, a little bit of paraphrasing.
I'm taking creative
certain
license.
Liberties there,
certain
but
liberties.
That's okay.
But basically, they said, I would rather play Wildcat than have that ass clown operate as quarterback for my football team. That's what they said.
Crystal clear. Crystal clear.
That's how I read into it.
While we're talking about quarterbacks, what did you make of J.J. McCarthy basically coming out this week and saying, yeah, the Vikings haven't really told me if I'm their starting quarterback? Sounds like he asked for a little love and is wondering why he hasn't received it yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're basically telling you, right? Who else do they have on the roster? They didn't go out and...
Brett Rippon.
Do they still have Nick Mullins on their roster? Is Mullins still on their roster?
Not sure.
Kyle Shanahan told me he's going to be a great coach one day. Which means...
Those who can't coach.
Yeah, those who can't coach. Brilliant young man. Yeah, the fact that the fact that I love, people like, J.J. McCarthy and this, that, and the other. The fact that they flirted, or there was reports of them flirting with Aaron Rodgers, means that they don't know. And ultimately, there's a couple of different things with J.J. McCarthy. I'm sure that the kid is, on a grease board is great. But one thing Kevin O'Connell likes to do is he likes to run things from the line of scrimmage. So he's one of those young coaches that always throws this term at you like premium plays, right? We want a premium look or a premium play. So ultimately, what that means is we walk up the line of scrimmage with, 2 or 3 plays in mind, right? We call a play. We can either flip-flop it if we don't get the look we want. So let's say we call it and we want to run it into a bubble, right? Meaning a guard uncovered. And we call it, weak to the left, and they get in a underfront or a 25 front. So now that guard weak is covered. So now the bubble goes strong, right? If you're playing overs and unders, 25s and 57s, and these are technical football terms. I'm sure you guys have no clue, but you know more than I do because you've got an X account. Anyhow, long story short, you know who you are, ass clowns. Anyhow, so you want to run it to the bubble. So now it switches from a belly run or a weak run to a strong run. You see what I'm saying? So you want to run it to that strong side now. And then also you can get into maybe they play an even front. If they play an even front, maybe we're gonna check to this pass. Or if they play, if they play that under front and they rotate a safety up, now we got one-on-one access to the outside. So we want to do something, throwing the ball to the outside. So there's a bunch of things that you control at the line of scrimmage. I would ask you this: who do you think has a better chance to run that offense, Aaron Rodgers or J.J. McCarthy? And I would say, based on lack of experience, I would go with Aaron Rodgers if you're running that style of offense. So I think that's why there was the reported flirtation with Aaron Rodgers. It makes sense to me. And I just don't know with J.J. McCarthy. The other thing I don't know with J.J., and they say the knee is fine, although he did have a follow-up surgery, right, to clean it up. He had the meniscus repair. And I mean, I had a lot of meniscus injuries, right? And that's a 2 to 4 week injury. You know, for me, it's a 4-day injury, but for it's 2 to 4 week injury where they snip it out and you go back out and you play because theoretically you have balls in your pants. But JJ chose to have it surgically repaired.
Right.
Which they stitch it up, they stitch it back down, that cartilage, you know, and they hope it scars over and all that stuff. My understanding, and I have a lot of friends that are doctors, my understanding is, like, if you're an average human and you're just walking around, that's fine. But if you're an elite level athlete, the odds of that being sustainable and not being re-injured are slim. So I wonder if the Vikings and the Vikings doctor said, hey, listen, we'll do this, we'll snip it, you'll be back on the field in 2 to 4 weeks and everything's going to be fine. And because you're allowed and you have the right for a second opinion, some other doctor said, hey, for longevity and lack of, you know, arthritic changes and decrepitous and all that stuff, then we're gonna go in this direction is your best interest, you know, and so that's one of those situations where I always wonder about a little bit of an animosity. Maybe in today's game that doesn't exist, but in my day, I remember going and having a surgery when I played for Washington by not our team doctor, but Dr. James Andrews. So I went and had a surgery because I had a microfracture surgery, which, you know, is a bitch, but went and had microfracture surgery. And walking into the training room asking for anti-inflammatories during my rehab process, and our trainer saying, why don't you reach out to Dr. Andrews for that?
Ooh.
So now that was
meow.
Yes, that was a kid. He's got claws. So, but that was a different time, right? That was like, that's when second opinions and you go anywhere else other than the team doctor and you're some type of pariah.
Right.
So different time, but it always is one of those things that I just keep there in the back burner wondering what that does.
Okay, that makes sense, because if it's not health reasons, then, you know, when you have a pretty good team and yet you still decide to choose the quarterback as high, at some point you got to go to that kid. And I can understand why after going 14-3, you might be a little bit hesitant to do that because you're probably anticipating a bit of a step back. But do you see? And understand where I'm going with this. I'm not saying that J.J. McCarthy is Patrick Mahomes, but Kansas City had a 12-14 with Alex Smith, still felt they had something special in Patrick Mahomes, and they made the switch even after a 12-4 season to from Alex Smith. Now, it worked out, but come on. I know they were excited about Patrick Mahomes, but they didn't know this. So
Well, see, I'd push back.
You push back on that?
Just simply because I talked to their coaches, you know, kind of quote unquote off the record. Well, really wasn't off the record, but I did their coaches that were there at that time. It said he would do things in practice where they're like, oh my God. And like they had him at the third team, and they would race from practice during training camp back to the offices to watch the film as he was absolutely destroying their starting defense.
All right, well.
And they'd be like, he was doing things that nobody else. So they knew. The other difference is he practiced the whole year. He cut up, as a scout team member, he cut up their starting defense. So they knew, like, they weren't giving him easy looks. Like, it was against their starting defense, and he is absolutely rifling them with other people's plays. And, you know, it's interesting you bring it up because Aaron Rodgers, that's exactly what happened to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He got to the point where he was absolutely eviscerating the starting defense. The week of practice was harder than the game for them because he's killing them. And they look at it and like, why are we afraid to move, right? Mm-hmm. Why do we not just make the move? So that was part of that process. But Mahomes, the same thing, part of the process. I played with a guy by the name of Rod Smith. We had a guy named Anthony Miller, was a Pro Bowl, All-Pro wide receiver. We didn't even know who Rod Smith was on our own team. He was a practice squad kid. Undrafted practice squad kid. I didn't know Rod at the time. You know, as a starter in 1990, I didn't know Rod. And I'll never forget in that we cut Anthony Miller, right? Pro Bowl, cut him. And I remember sitting down in our individual meetings and Alex Gibbs going, we got one. Alex Gibbs was my offensive line coach. He goes, we got one. And I know you guys are confused, but we watched this kid, Rod Smith, just eat our defense alive day in and day out, crushes our defense. And they can't cover the kid. I mean, flat out can't. He catches everything. He goes, as a matter of fact, and I kid you, as sure as I'm sitting here, that he said this. He goes, I believe we could put him in our backfield and he could rush for 1,400 yards. He goes, he's that good a football player. So we have no equivocation, no hesitation. We're moving.
So,
but the difference is J.J. McCarthy couldn't practice last year.
That was going to be my
difference. So you don't right now. That's where the hesitation is because you don't know.
Right.
You
don't know.
You never know until you know.
Right.
Like I've watched and I've witnessed some of the guys who, to me, are the best practice players I've ever watched. In practice, they are awesome. They get in a game and they absolutely take a shit in their pants. They can't play a lick. And so you don't know until you officially know. So they flirted with Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because they've got questions.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that they have questions. But there's also, and I don't know, call it hubris. There's also a belief, and you got to have it as a coach, right? Under my system. And the way I put things together and the way I attack a team, even anybody. I mean, even Sam Darnold can have success, right? Sam Darnold can throw for 40 whatever 100 yards and 38 touchdowns. So there's got to be some, call it confidence, call it hubris, call it whatever, bravado, whatever you want. There's got to be some of that on that offensive staff with Kevin O'Connell.
Jumping around, we were kind of wondering when would the remaining free agent wide receiver logjam break. Seems like we've been sitting out here seeing guys like Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Stefon Diggs out there in free agency. What was the holdup? Why haven't they signed with anyone? And then out of nowhere, whammo, Stefon Diggs gets a 3-year, what was it, $69 million, $26 million guaranteed contract from the Patriots. Is this a wow? Where did that come from? Fair market deal handed out, or was this just a desperate football team with a lot of money to burn? Pay no attention to it. The NFL teams are saying to other receivers, don't let this be a starting point for negotiations if you're a free agent receiver.
Well, I think the other guys you talked about, whether it was Amari Cooper, who didn't have a lot of success in Buffalo, right? Didn't look like he was that explosive receiver that he once was. You look at a guy like Keenan Allen, who's never been the most explosive athlete. He's just a really good football player. So is there a market for that guy? Absolutely. But you don't have to rush into that market. You can see, like here in Denver, you've got Vele, you've got Mims, you've got Franklin, you've got one established guy in Cortland Sutton. But you want to see what those guys kind of blossom into. And you can sit there and say, hey man, Amari Cooper, I'm not in a rush. Keenan Allen, I'm not in a rush. And those guys are probably not in a rush to sign either. So they're biding their time because ultimately somebody's going to get hurt or somebody's not going to produce or whatever the case may be, and they'll be in shape and they'll be ready to go right into somebody's system because they don't rely on their just athleticism to get open. They rely on their savvy and their understanding of the game to get open, right? And their bodies and how they use them. So those guys are probably not in a rush. Stefon Diggs is still he was on pace to have 100 catches, about 1,200 yards or so. He was 7-8 touchdowns. He was on pace in Houston. Now the deal is, I'm sure if you got into the nitty gritty of that contract, it's probably a 1-year, $26 million deal. Right, even though it's a 3-year, $69 million deal, there's probably an out in it because the guy's got a reputation for a reason. The people just haven't pasted him with this or painted him with this reputation of being a pain in the ass, prima donna. Right? That has happened. Like the fact that Josh Allen, who won the MVP last year, on Stefon Diggs' way out, said, "Oh no, we'd really like to keep him. Oh, he was a great teammate. I don't know what we're gonna do without him." Right? Like if he really felt like it's almost like Joe Burrow said, "I want my 2 wide receivers," and Cincinnati just signed his 2 receivers, and more power to you for having that. Like Joe's not putting the team together, but more power to you. You have that kind of power and you have that kind of leverage. Use it. I get it. That's what you want. I disagree with the way you're building it, but that's fine. We can disagree. Intelligent people can disagree about the way things are built, and we'll see exactly how it goes down. But I've got to believe that if Josh Allen, the current MVP, really, really, really wanted to keep Stefon Diggs, even though he's a pain in the ass, and the organization would have made some kind of they'd have come to some type of agreement to make sure that he stayed there, right? They would have acquiesced in some way and saved face and been able to sign him and keep him there.
So this move from the Patriots standpoint, I get it that you want to put some weapons around Drake May. You did a Patriots game and you came away pretty impressed by Drake May, but how much of a risk is it? You're trying to develop your young franchise quarterback and you're pairing him with a guy who, while being very talented, does have a reputation of being a diva, does have a reputation of being disruptive if he's not happy. How much is New England, Mike Vrabel, rolling the dice with bringing Stefon Diggs in as the main guy for Drake May?
Well, like I said, because he's got that reputation was earned. It's not just something that somebody slapped on him. It was earned. By all accounts, last year he was a model citizen for Houston and very productive and did all those things. So I think that he is in a situation where, like I said, I would assume, I don't have the language of the contract in front of me, and not that I'd be able to decipher the language of the contract if it was in front of me. I'm sure there's a lot of heretofores.
Yeah.
And
unless there's a pop-up picture or two popping up, then you're done.
Exactly. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. It's one of those type of novels, and I'm probably not going to understand it. But the bottom line to me is I'm sure there is an out for the New England Patriots. You act like an ass, and you're going to be gone. And, all you have to do is look back 2 years ago or so. They had a defensive lineman by the name of Tart, who's I can't remember his first name off the top of my head, but a really good player for them in Tennessee when Vrabel was the coach. And something went down, and he just cut him. And so, Tyre Tart. And so, Mike is surly. Mike played a long time in this league. Mike demands the respect of his players. But Mike ain't Mike is really good with all that stuff, but Mike is also understands the accountability factor and the team aspect of being good. And so I'm sure that there is an out on New England's standpoint that this really becomes a 1-year, $26 million deal. And if you want, if you want to act like a model citizen, you would be happy to honor this contract. But if you give us any issues at all, we're going to be out. And it's exactly what Houston signed him to, too.
So he's on his best behavior. You know, he's got to come in, and I guess if you're going to roll the dice with a guy like that, you're pretty confident that first year, at least, he's going to be on his best behavior.
Did you ever see when he was in Minnesota, they did that thing, and they had a camera in there. I don't know if it was an internal thing from the Minnesota Vikings, but it was out. It was on a YouTube thing or whatever it was. And they asked every player in the locker room, hey, name one guy on the team that you wouldn't want to date your sister.
Right.
And every dude, without fail, said, they didn't even think.
Right.
It was without hesitation. They're like, oh, yeah, Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs. Name one guy, Stefon Diggs. They didn't even have to get it out. Okay, give me one Stefon Diggs.
His question wasn't even out of the mouth.
Right,
yet.
it wasn't. They already knew. They're like, there's no question. It was hilarious because every guy was just like, oh, this dude's a dog. He's I wouldn't want him anywhere near my family.
Real quick, what did you think of Puka Nacua coming out and saying, yeah, I'm done by age 30? Now, he's 23. And he's already been in the league a couple of years.
Right.
So, you're still talking about if he decided to walk away at age 30, you're still talking about a really good, solid 9-10 year career. But
easy thing to say when you're 23. Would you bet that when age 30 comes around, if he's still playing at a decent level, do you think he walks away at age 30?
So I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Really?
Having sat down with him and
Different
talked
guy,
to him,
different cat.
he's a great dude. Like he's just great. And like, some young players, some young people have kind of old souls, and he just comes off as a guy that really knows who he is, what he wants, and loves to play. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I mean, the guy, by that time, he'll roll around. He's going to sign a second deal, right? Because right now he's not making money, but he's going to sign a second deal. It's going to be big. It'll set him and his family up for generations, right? He's going to sign a $100 million deal, $100+ million deal. And so he's a great guy. The other thing about what they ask Puka to do is the same thing they ask Kupp to do, and there's a reason that Cooper Kupp is now in Seattle. Why? Because what they ask you to do with the Rams is essentially play tight end from the wide receiver position. And so it wears a wide receiver out. He is deeply involved in the run game, but not the run game as standard wide receiver, where you're out there in the water, right? And you got a corner lined up over you, and you're like, okay, we're gonna motion you in, and we're gonna push crack this thing, right? And you're coming up late on a safety. I'm talking about in the line of scrimmage, leading in on an insert to a safety or to a linebacker, working in combination with an offensive tackle from the defensive end to a linebacker. Like he is involved in that on a play-to-play basis, which Cooper Kupp was also involved in. Well, like you may not get hurt doing that, but that wears on your body when you're all of a sudden comboing with a tackle on a 278, 280-pound defensive end, right? And that guy throttles you, and then a 250-pound linebacker comes up and hits you in the mouth. Like it wears your body down. But then all of a sudden you get an injury outside of the numbers, and everybody goes, oh, he's injured. Well, like you're doing a lot of dirty work, and that's what Puka is doing right now for them. He's taken over that Cooper Kupp role because he's really good at it as well.
So the Rams recognize that, but you're still talking about a guy who is a fifth-round pick, 177th overall. What did so many teams miss about this guy?
Well,
other than the willingness to do this, the Rams recognized it, but even the Rams recognized that there were probably some restrictions there that would pass them down to the fifth round.
This is my new notebook.
Look at that notebook.
So look at this. This is every day. Okay, you guys see my notebook here? And you can see on this.
The neatest writing. I swear to goodness. He's like a 7th grade
every day.
Girl.
See this?
Does not have as good. I mean, he literally puts the hearts over the eyes.
This is my devotional every day. This is a scripture. I do cuss a little bit. God forgives me. So these are daily scriptures every day.
God is okay with ass clown.
Yeah, he's good with that. Anyhow, you can see that's just a daily. Anyhow, but I had a thing in my other notebook that I don't have with me because I flipped over because it's 2025 on Puka Nacua coming out.
Okay.
And I'll paraphrase. I don't have it all, but he was like competes at the point of the catch, right? So he's competitive at the point of the catch. Catches, goes out and attacks the ball in the air. These were some of so Sean McVay is like talking to their GM, Les Snead. Is it Les Snead? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, this is the guy I want, this is the guy I want, this is the guy I want, this is the guy I want. And Snead's going, I don't know, and he's like, no. And then he's like, he involved in the run game, passion at the point of attack, goes and digs guys out, digs safety and run support out. Aggressive at the point of the catch, catches the ball with his hands, and so all these things. So this is like the combine stuff, right? He probably ran 4, 5, 6, and everybody's like, he's not the fastest guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he didn't have the greatest vertical jump. The dude's a football player. Sean McVay recognized his ability to play football, where everybody else looked at the numbers that weren't elite and said, oh, he's not elite, right? And as opposed, he's just an elite football player. And he's a guy that I talked to. I did a Rams game, and I was like, I got to talk to this guy. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about just a passion for life and just excitement about playing. And he just instantly became one of my favorite players. instantly.
There you go. Well, good to have you back.
It's good to be back.
We missed you.
Good to be back. Thank you all for making us a part of your day. Thank you so much for putting up with my schedule. I appreciate you guys. Mike, it's always good to see you. I love you, buddy. It's always good to be back here in Denver. I'll be back in New York next week. We'll do it from there. But for everybody involved in the Stink Truth podcast, we thank you so much for making us a part of your day.